Hello, everyone. My name is John Goetz from Gaming and Leisure, and welcome to G&L Voice. And today on our show, we have Melissa Aarskaug, the VP of Business Development at Bulletproof, which is a GLI company. Now, we've probably all worked with Melissa somewhere along the line on the gaming side of the house. You know, she's been around for about 10 years, has experience in the gaming operations, suppliers, regulators, tribal gaming enterprises, state entities, and associates, and so forth. And I was interested to learn that one of Melissa's passions is STEM and helping mentor women and get through diversity programs and inclusion for women in technology. And I think that's great. So Melissa, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Today, as we've chatted, and I've done some research, we're going to talk about cyber insurance and, cyber security in general. So let's, if we could start off by kind of having you tell the audience what cyber insurance is and how it affects our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Simplistically speaking, cyber insurance is used to protect business from internet-based risks. So anything from the IT infrastructure or anything that ransomware attacks, but essentially it protects businesses from cyber risks.
Okay, and what are some of the cyber risks out there? I've read, I've heard of all sorts of different things. There's phishing, there's virus attacks, and there's something new I learned was called software supply chain interruption, and I've never heard of that. So, what are some of the risks out there that our industry faces?
Yeah, I think I always say the biggest risk is the people. That's the easy way to get in a lot of cases is, sending an email, asking people to reset their passwords, or hey, can you pay this PO? I personally have had someone impersonate me in our company, and they asked for to get everybody Starbucks gift cards, $20 worth of Starbucks gift cards for everyone. And it sounded just like something I would say. And it had my signature in a similar email. And one of the people that received it, he was one of our technical solution architects, and he forwarded it on to me. He's like, how about that? It looks just like something you'd say. They even got your the way you communicate internally correct. So I don't know where it came from, but it was for it to happen to you, it's a whole different story. So I read about it, I hear about it, and I'm involved in remediation. But when it happens to you, in our case, our employees are trained. And so when they receive these phishing emails, they know what to do with them. But in all other cases, not all organizations have a training program and know how to handle any of the emails that they might be receiving, whether it's, theft, or they're hacking, or they want data destruction or anything of that nature. It could be all different kinds of things.
Yeah, and you've been talking about emails, but as recently as yesterday, I got a text from something or someone that was making them look like the post office, the USPS, and it said, you have a package that is stuck in a sorting facility. Click here to enter your new correct address. And the first thing I did was I Googled USPS sorting facility package stuck, and it's showed me all the scams that are out there for that. So that's just an individual. How do those things affect the big organizations? I shouldn't say big, small, medium, large casinos, hospitalities, hotels. How do these things affect the larger organizations, not John in Wisconsin?
Yeah, so I think, who does it affect? Well, any business that creates stores and manages electronic data online, such as player contact information, sales, PII data, credit card numbers. So any of that data is what they're going after. And I think that's, kind of jumping into the topic here today, why companies are going after, cyber insurance is, to help, and, help mediate and use some of those funds to remediate any of the things that might happen, whether it affects their infrastructure or player data. So I think companies are really starting to become aware of how it might affect, not only, like I said, their infrastructure, but also their personnel.
So cyber insurance, it sounds very, I really hadn't heard of cyber insurance before. Is it new, or has it been out there for a while?
Yeah, so I think, cyber insurance is relatively new. It's different in a sense that most risks of this nature aren't typically included in a traditional insurance policy. So it is new. It's been around for a bit, and it's. I think I forget, one of my insurance colleagues told me that the last couple of years, the insurance companies are taking a big hit because of so many of these attacks and ransomware. And so they're learning too as they go, as the incidents get bigger. It's changing just as much for them as it is for the people that have the policies.
So what, I'm sure someone just can't go to Allstate and say, I want cyber insurance. So what is it? Is it specialized agencies that have this technical know-how, or what is the process for a casino property to get cyber insurance?
Yeah, absolutely. I always recommend reaching out to a broker to better understand what type of policy that you're looking for. They usually ask you to fill out, which used to be a page questionnaire. I've seen a cybersecurity questionnaire recently that was over 25 pages long. So they're asking very intricate type of questions, like when was the last time you had a security assessment? Do you do them yearly? Do you do vulnerability scanning regularly? Do you have social media? If so, which one? So they're asking more questions in these questionnaires than they used to. And then I have heard in some cases, the insurance companies are testing to make sure, what you said on those questionnaires are correct. I had a casino recently who completed a questionnaire and found out, a couple of weeks later that the insurance company did a security assessment on the environment they could touch externally. So they are checking those questionnaires and, ensuring clients how it makes sense based on those questionnaires.
That's interesting. So the insurance companies, do they do that in secret, or do they say on this date we're going to test things out? Because you see TV, movies where they, companies will hire someone to come in and steal, company secrets, and then they make a report to the company, and then they get a check for $1 million for, testing their security. So how do the insurance companies go about doing that?
That's a good question. I don't know if I have 100% of the answer to that one, but I do know that the clients that I work with, both in most cases, they have been a surprise, and the casino had found out after the assessment had taken place. So I'm sure maybe there's some insurance companies that do it collaboratively, but in the cases I've been involved with, it was the organization wasn't aware that they were doing the assessment.
Wow, that's scary almost, to know that that's being checked on, because you hear about all of these things, denial of service, and all of these attacks that can happen. Now I was reading an article from Forbes where it said cyber criminals can break into 93% of the networks out there. So that, only 7% have secure networks, and that number is astounding. What do you think of that? I mean, is that true?
It's I would say it probably is true. I think everybody has different numbers, but yeah, I think we've seen a lot of of breaches that have happened since COVID days, and not just, the casino gaming industry, but other industries are seeing breaches as well. And, in the gaming industry, we heard about, I think it was 2019, that MGM, 10 million, I think, guests their personal information was leaked. I think we've seen it. I think Indian Gaming also made a stance that the cyber attacks they heard about in 2021 had jumped 1,000% since 2019. And even non-gaming, we've seen Marriott was breached with a social engineering attack, Amazon. So it's not just our industry, but I would say everybody is at risk. And I typically say it's not if, it's when. And a little bit is better than nothing. I hope that answered what you were asking.
Yeah,
but
it does. It just like you said, it's not if, but when. So what kind of liability do companies have for their, their employee data, their customer data? I mean, it's all out there. What kind of liabilities do they have? And does the insurance protect them from those liabilities?
Yeah, so I think it's everyone's responsibility to take action in a company, whether you're HR or marketing or IT or whatever department. Is everyone's responsibility to protect their company and their company's information. I think we all should, if we're getting a phishing email and we know it's a phishing email, maybe share it with the IT departments and tell them, if you get it, it's probably likely that someone else is got that email. I know I talked to several, GMs and CEOs across the US that, had their assistant not caught something that looked fishy, they would have probably paid the PO. And I have a client right now that we're working with that millions of dollars were paid over the course of several years by missing, a breach. And they just kept paying POs. They were small POs. And one of their employees caught it, mainly because at the time they were sending the PO, it was a really odd hour to be sending. I think it was like 2 a.m, somewhere in that time. And it was unlike that department to send anything at 2 a.m. So they realized that it was someone overseas. Happy to say this client got 90+% of their money back of the seven that were lost. But I think, in regards to the insurance companies, they really have, the underwriters that are underwriting these policies have really limited data, because not all companies are doing the assessments and doing the proper hygiene. So insurance companies are having to make decisions with a little bit of information instead of a lot of information, that they receive from clients. So I have another client that I'm working with who had a $10 million policy for $50,000. And now that same policy is $100,000 for $2 million worth of coverage. So they're shifting, and they tend to fluctuate the policies from month to month, given the dynamic and fluctuation nature of cyber and the risks that are attached to it. So
you'd mentioned they had a $2 million policy. What does that $2 million cover?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've seen casinos use the 2 million for protecting their clients' information. So doing the credit monitoring. So I think they're like $15 to $20 a month. Don't quote me on the exact price, but I think they're about $15 to $20 a month. And if they have, six times the amount of people in their database times, $15 to $20, your 2 million can be sucked up pretty quick. And just credit monitoring before you even remediate or fix anything that may have been broken.
Wow, that's incredible. Because I've been involved with data breaches where you have your credit card or someone and they get their data breached, and then they send you the little link to get the what is it, LifeLock or something like that. So that, and they're sending it out to 2 million other people. So, and it costs $50 a person. So that's what that insurance money is used for in this case.
In some cases, I think everybody used the different depending on what the breach is and what's in their policies. So some are buying more coverage, less coverage. And, I know some casinos who made the decision with the increased cost of cyber insurance just to not have insurance and to use those funds on other security tools or services as opposed to the policies. So I think it's different for a lot of organizations given size and business decisions.
So Melissa, how do you help casinos when you're working with a casino on cyber insurance? Where are you lending your expertise?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's funny because I never would have thought I'd be reviewing cybersecurity questionnaires. Over the last few years, several of our clients have worked with us on their questionnaires because a lot of the information in those questionnaires we help them with, whether it's managed security services or a penetration test or quarterly scanning for PCI. So a lot of the information that's inside those questionnaires we do for the gaming industry, for tribal casinos, commercial casinos, suppliers, lotteries, the gamut of insurance, the gamut of companies in the gaming industry. So really we help them fill out the questionnaires, with their HR department who might be looking over their cybersecurity training, because training is a function of HR, or training in some cases a function of IT, depending on how the client is organized. So it really does take an army. I think a lot of times I work with CFOs too. They have some of the financial information, and when they ask about social media, the marketing department gets involved. So I tend to get involved on multiple different levels with clients.
Okay. So when you're filling out the questionnaire, you'd mentioned PCI data. How involved are the Nevada Gaming Control Board or the tribal gaming regulators? How are they involved with this? Do you have to keep them in the loop with PCI data, or do you have to have your PCI encrypted, or where do they fall into this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it depends on the state and the jurisdiction. The regulators, tribal or state regulators, don't demand cyber insurance. They, in some states like New Jersey and Michigan and other states that have a regulatory requirement where either the casino or the suppliers have the assessments on the entire casino environment, or in some states, there's a regulation where just the sports book or iGaming environment has the assessment. So New Jersey's taken a really big stance on that. And so if you're in the state of New Jersey or offering gaming and iGaming and sports wagering, you have to have a security assessment, whether you're a casino or a supplier. In some states, just the sportsbook or iGaming piece segment of the casino has to have a security assessment. So where the regulators are involved are making sure that you're doing those assessments with a licensed security company, such as GLI Bulletproof, who I work for. But there's several companies out there that can offer that service. Mm-hmm. We've just been working with the casino industry for a while, helping them stay secure and grow their security posture.
You've mentioned iGaming a couple of times, and that probably threw a kink into a lot of security plans and security programs, because it opens up the door for a lot of criminals, in my opinion. Have you seen or have you experienced that, like when an entity has iGaming, that their risk increases, or is it not really affected it? Just curious.
Yeah, I think definitely you're moving workloads in the cloud or in the casino environment. So there's more pieces to it, different technology. So yeah, we have seen good and bad ways of doing it and helped clients secure their environment. We've had a couple clients that came to us that had a security assessment on the environment that was in in the casino environment, and then the portion that wasn't in the casino environment was breached. So we've seen, the area that we tested not be breached, the area that wasn't tested because maybe it didn't have any game information on it. We've seen it a lot. We all joke about the fish tank and how it was attached to the wireless network, and how, the hacker was able to scale and get into their casino environment. We've seen it with HVAC, a lot of non-gaming type of ways to get into an environment. So I think that just adds a layer of complexity, and the casinos do a really great job of working with the suppliers and getting their assessments done on the part that is required by the regulators.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned HVAC. There are security concerns with HVAC.
Yeah, there's the Internet of Things, right? Anything connected and how it's connected. Wireless printers.
Okay.
Yeah, any way to connect to the network, right? So, everything's wireless now. You have, the Ring. Everybody has the Ring at their home now, and the Nest, and it's all connected to your internet and your TV and everything that's connected. And depending on how the password's set up, or and how it's connected and what information it has access to, it could be not a big deal, or it could be a big deal, depending on who you are and what the organization is, what kind of information ultimately the hackers are trying to get.
Yeah, you brought up a good point, because I thought HVAC, you have your air conditioner, but yeah, the things that you can connect to your phone. I have a coffee mug that is Bluetooth, so I can connect to my phone and I can control the temperature of my coffee mug from my phone. So all of that connectivity, has opened all of these doors for cyber criminals. And do you have any thought as to how much money it has cost the industry, and cyber attacks and things like that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I was just actually looking at some of these statistics. So the average, I know this is a big time frame. So from 2017 to 2021, the average cost was about 55 million total incident cost for these incidents, whereas in 2017, the beginning part of 2017, it was 33 million. So it went from 33 million to 55 million for total kind of average incident cost, versus like a forensic cost, or and it's funny because I was looking at the industries by sector, and curious, really, gaming as a whole lands in this kind of hospitality entertainment space. But we now have our own space in some of these, ransomware by sector. So we're not in healthcare, we're not in energy, but now gaming is starting to have its own space. And I believe, this year was the first year, at the beginning part of this year, I actually posted an article that I read about it, where Q1 of this year was the first time that gaming has seen such major breaches across the board.
Wow. That's, and what, do you know, are there any stats as to, okay, so some organizations choose not to have insurance, some do, and they go through the process. Is there any correlation as to attacks happening in one form or another to those who don't have insurance versus those who do? Does that make sense?
And I don't know if I have that information, but I would say, from an insurance company perspective, not that I have a license or know a ton about it, but they want to ensure, clients that are doing the security, let's just say stuff,
Mhm.
versus an organization that's doing nothing. So they tend to have more flexible policies on clients that have done assessments, have done what they need to do to try as best they can to be secure based on their budget. So all organizations have different budgets based on their leaders, and within those budgets, I see casinos trying to do what they can, from using the right tools, finding the right companies to partner with, to doing it in-house. So I think the insurance companies just want to see that, you're doing what you can to keep the hackers out. But I don't have an actual number of how many or what percent. I think, I have a health insurance policy, in the if when I get sick, I'm not hoping to get sick, but I know sometime in the future I may get sick. So I keep, in my own health insurance
Mhm.
policy. I have a homeowner's insurance policy. I have car insurance policy. I don't intend to get into a car accident, but if I do get in an accident, I'd want to, pay as little as I can to fix my vehicle.
Right.
And I
So,
think that's the idea.
yeah. So when organizations go about getting this insurance policy, and they're working with, you and Bulletproof, um, I'm assuming you're probably talking to every organization within the company, within the casino or the hotel. It's just not InfoSec. It would be across the board, correct?
Yeah, and my fellow infosec friends in the gaming industry, I believe, have the hardest job right now, just given, their day to day has drastically changed from, not just only maintaining the gaming environment, but everything outside of that, from hospitality to iGaming. Now they're worried about trading people, where that historically used to be HR's department.
Mhm.
They're teaching people cybersecurity training. Either, they're doing it themselves, or they're using training tools to help them. But it tends to start with the security team, because they do have a lot of that information, but then they work with their CFO on financial information, financial data, and HR, if HR is responsible for training or marketing, if they're asking questions about social media. So typically they'll ask the gamut, and then the legal team gets involved. Should we, have, they usually ask, have you had a breach, and how do we position that to the insurance company? So I think you're right, everybody's involved. It's in most cases it tends to fall on the IT department to lead and champion.
Mhm. So, yeah, I've worked in a few companies, and they have a tool on the Microsoft Outlook menu bar, where if you get a phishing email, you click on that, and it's a phishing. You can report it. But also the InfoSec departments have run tests every now and then. They'll send out a phishing email, and if you click on it, you're required to go through the InfoSec training, and take a half an hour out of your day going through this training. So is that something the gaming industry has done too, not just the private, corporate world?
Yes, and I'm so glad you mentioned this. So I used to. So we many years ago started cybersecurity e-learning in-house, and I thought, oh gosh, I do this all the time. I know all the answers. I'm gonna not listen to the videos, and I'm just gonna go right to the test. And I did not pass my first cybersecurity test, and I am very,
Melissa.
I know, and I work in that space. And so I joked with our CEO at the time. I'm like, wow, I thought I knew everything. And I went back and took that test, and I spent time, why did I click this? And instead of that, but they're really good. There's some really good training. Don't skip the videos. Read what it's telling you, and
Mhm.
listen to it. I passed the second time, first time, and I pass every year now. So I think, when it comes to training, we're all busy. We all have really busy desks. We have, it's, for those of us that work from home, we're always, on sun up to sundown. And doing 30 minutes trainings here and there can be, challenging, but
Mhm.
bigger picture is we all should be doing it. And, if I could tell my younger self, just do the training. It's your job too, to make sure you're
Yes.
cybersecurity, you're trained. And had I not took that training, I get probably, I don't know, at least five phishing attempts a day personally on my work computer, not including LinkedIn and my home computer and
Mhm.
all the other ways people can communicate. So text message now, I don't know about you, but I'm getting nonstop political text
Oh,
message
yes.
now that nobody's information is, private anymore. It's so every day I get, vote for this or click on that. And so I'm
Mhm.
getting more on text messages now as well.
Yeah, and I haven't found a good way to stop those because it's never ending. That or increase your car warranty. I'm so tired of those things.
True. But the Amazon ones too are tricky because, I'm a big, I buy Amazon all the time.
Hmm.
Our delivery truck driver are very close friends. And so, those ones are the ones that always catch me off guard because I don't know. I'm like, okay, what did I order? And remembering what I ordered or resetting my password. Interestingly enough, I just was breached personally last week traveling for work.
Oh,
And my credit card was taken, and we found out it was actually somebody at the airport that they didn't hand me back my credit card. And I didn't, I was thinking about something else. I just took the receipt and not the credit card. And, you know, the person that took my credit card is, no longer employed with this airport.
hmm.
They took my card and they went right out in the airport and bought themselves lunch and then continued to take themselves other places. So even those kind of things, just a slip of mind happens quickly. And this particular person was an employee at a restaurant inside an airport, not someone that was sending me a rogue email or a trained hacker. He was just a regular employee at a restaurant.
That's yeah, that's unbelievable that you have to worry about that. And now I'm just going to remember always
Check
um,
your credit card.
check my credit card. Yes. So, Melissa, before we wrap up, what would you say were maybe the 3 or 4 key things that a casino, hotel, resort should do if they're thinking about cyber insurance? Um,
Yeah, I think getting the training. There's so many free cyber trainings out there that you can. Those are low hanging fruit to use a company that has a cybersecurity e-learning platform. Get the people trained. You can do your own vulnerability scans in-house. You can outsource it. Um, do the scanning. Do your patching. And I think the third thing I would say is talk to your peers. A lot of the breaches I've been involved with are right around the same area. So they went from one casino to the other casino, and all in the same area. So just, the IT teams are pretty good, in my opinion, of communicating together. But I think, the GMs and the CFOs, the more communication, the better. Hey, we just had this happen at our casino. Just want to give you a heads up. It takes a quick email. And I think a lot of these would, not happen as significantly as if there was more communication.
okay. So communication is key.
Yeah,
And you can't be worried about, not telling one another and being embarrassed because it's going to affect everyone. So
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. And do your assessments. I know for those in tribal gaming, the NIGC does a free vulnerability scan for you. So if you don't have the tools, get with the NIGC, get on their schedule, and they'll do them for you for free. So there's plenty of, organizations out there that can help support you in your journey.
Now, quick question, a tangent here. Pen tests. How are those done?
Yeah.
Um,
So a pen test is different than a vulnerability assessment. So a pen test is where, manually going in there trying to brute force get into the environment. So they could, we talked about the printer, maybe one of the printers connected to the wireless network and they can scale from the printer to the slot accounting system. Or maybe there's, a password that's 1234 and it's connected to the system and they can go from that. They know the password's 1234 and then they can go from there across to the slot accounting system. So it's more manual. It's more, you need to better understand what you're going after.
And so, you go to someone's house and you try to get their internet or access to the internet. You go to your Wi-Fi connection on your phone, you see their SSID. You go to some casinos and you can see all the different SSIDs, but you can turn that off so it's not broadcast. Do you recommend turning all that off so no one sees the SSIDs?
Yeah, it's funny. I forget what conference I was just at, and I talked about this. I also talked about notifications on where you are or subscribing to automatic updates. Like all the apps are talking to each other. So if you say yes, track my location, send me information, they're going to talk to Hilton, who's going to talk to Facebook, that's why when you get on Facebook, you were just on Hilton and they're advertising in your feed, oh, come stay at our resort in Scottsdale, because they're all communicating. So yeah, I turn off everything personally. And, I am not on a bunch of different Wi-Fi networks all the time. I usually, run my phone like that, but everybody has different ways of doing it. But I would definitely recommend to keep things as locked down on your personal phone as possible.
Okay. So Melissa, I want to thank you for your time. To everyone, to our listeners, we've been talking to Melissa Aarskaug from Bulletproof about cyber insurance, cybersecurity. So I've learned a lot, Melissa. So I want to thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thanks so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Hope to have you on again.
Absolutely.
Okay. Take care, Melissa.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.